The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 to Maria Corina Machado.
Hello, happy Friday, and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for October 10th, 2025.
She is receiving the Nobel Peace Prize for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela.
With all due respect to Maria Corina Machado's achievements, the fix is in.
At a time when democracy is under threat, it is more important than ever to defend this common ground.
That announcement coming early this morning from the chair of the Nobel Committee in Oslo, Norway, while President Trump continues to work on making peace in the Middle East after successfully brokering the end to a half dozen other world conflicts. More from Carl Higbie on Frontline.
You know what I find funny, too, is like Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for nothing. Just showing up at the White House. He didn't even know why he got it. And Trump stops 8 wars and nothing? This broke during the very end of our show last night, if you remember, as I was tossing over to Rob. But think about the gravity of this. And I'm not just kissing the ring here, okay? Trump took 2 mortal enemy parties, okay? Jews and Muslims have been fighting and killing each other for like 1,500 years indiscriminately. So you have people that in their religious doctrine have sought to just eliminate each other for 15 centuries. You remember Trump's frustration over this?
We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
But he somehow got them there. Trump got those guys to sit down at a table and stop shooting each other for like 5 seconds. Funniest part about this is how unreasonable it makes the leaders of Portland, Chicago, and California look, who won't even talk to their own president. But Trump got the Middle Eastern enemies to the same table. But we were told that Biden and his cabinet, they were the experts, right?
Anybody who has any connection to reality about what is going on around them should have watched that and said, the adults are back in the room.
How's that reality now, Dana? Those adults allowed 2 wars to start and caused almost 30% inflation over their term.
Today, President Trump is making a stop at the Walter Reed Military Medical Center for a checkup, and he'll be visiting with troops there as well. According to the White House calendar, the First Lady and the President are scheduled to make separate announcements at the White House later this afternoon before likely heading to Egypt this weekend for the official signing of the Israel-Hamas peace agreement.
Working on the timing, the exact timing. We're going to go to Egypt, where we'll have a signing, an additional signing. We've already had a signing representing me, but we're going to have an official signing. We secured the release of all of the remaining hostages, and they should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process. I'd rather not tell you what they have to do to get them.
That was during Thursday's Oval Office cabinet meeting. This is Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
One day, perhaps, the entire story will be told about the events of yesterday, but suffice it to say, it's not an exaggeration that none of it would have been possible without the President of the United States being involved.
And Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, spoke with Emma Rechenberg and John Glasgow on National Report.
With us here on National Report is the U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. Sir, welcome, and thank you so much for coming on today. How are you feeling, and what do you make of this latest news?
Well, I'm ecstatic with the news that President Trump has done what people thought not possible. He's made it so that the hostages are going to come home. There will be an end to the war in Gaza, and Hamas won't have a future there. Everything he said needed to happen, it's going to happen. And it's going to happen for one reason. That's because President Trump is the one who made this all work together. Working with other countries, working with the Prime Minister of Israel. Don't let anyone take this from him. This is his achievement, and he deserves the credit for it, all of the credit.
Well, he's giving you credit too, Ambassador, so you did a lot.
He's way too generous with that. You know, there are a number of people, many people at our embassy have worked tirelessly to try to be supportive and helpful, but no one could do what only the president could do. And that's why I say that he deserves the credit. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, a lot of people have been on the team. But it's the quarterback that threw the touchdown pass, and that's Donald Trump, how grateful I am to be able to serve with him, for him, and to see this incredible achievement that is going to mean the world to these families, but quite frankly, to the entire nation of Israel.
Ambassador, as we're looking here, this is Tel Aviv, this is Hoshes Square. Your take, though, just on seeing American flags there as we wait more details on this peace plan.
If Donald Trump were on the ballot in Israel, he would get 95% of the vote. I've told him this, and I said the 5% that didn't vote for him, they're all in insane asylums. I've never seen anyone as popular as President Trump is in Israel. They love him because of the support that he has given them, both in his first term, when he did historic things, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital, recognizing the Golan Heights as belonging to Israel, moving the embassy. He was so instrumental and historic in his efforts. But then in this second term, bringing really the end of the war with Iran by sending the B-2 bombers in at the very strategic moment. And now this historic peace agreement, it's just hard to even estimate the amount of goodwill that he has created, not just for himself, but for the United States and frankly for the people of the world in getting us to the landing spot of the peace deal.
I want to get your thoughts on this. Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib retweeted this just after the deal was announced. The government of Israel is starving Gaza to death. It's a war crime to use starvation as a weapon. The only way to end this genocide is an arms embargo. Your thoughts there from the Congresswoman.
First of all, it's idiotic to say there's been a genocide. If Israel wanted to do genocide, they could have done it in 2.5 hours. Gaza's the size of Las Vegas. They've got plenty of military capacity. If anyone's starving in Gaza, you know who it is? The hostages. Why didn't she mention them? They're starving. Have you seen their pictures? They're the only ones that we know for absolute certain have been starved, and they've been starved by Hamas. It would have been nice if the Congresswoman would have spent a little time condemning Hamas, demanding they release the hostages, instead of somehow forgetting why we're even in this situation. And if there is deprivation and starvation among the Gaza citizens, it's because Hamas stole over 90% of the humanitarian food that went into the country and tried to sell it to the people that should have gotten it for free. She needs to sit this one out.
The Huckster, Mike Huckabee, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, live from Israel on National Report. So Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib doesn't know that Hamas has been stealing the humanitarian aid. Well, of course she knows, but she doesn't want to mention that. If she waited more than 10 minutes, she would know that the U.S. is sending troops to Israel, about 200 troops, to support the ceasefire in Gaza as part of an international team of troops that will be helping distribute humanitarian aid being sent there. Israel did sign off on the agreement. The 72-hour window for Hamas to release the hostages, living and dead, is now open, and the clock is ticking. I'll get to day 10 of the government shutdown in a moment. First, for the other big headline.
I love it. She's busted, and oh boy, does she deserve it. The Attorney General of the state of New York, who made a total disgrace out of her office, out of herself, by waging those phony cases against President Trump. This is, you could call it retribution. Now, people are horrified. Retribution. How can you say retribution? President Trump shouldn't be carrying out retribution. Retribution, if you look up the definition, is punishment for bad behavior. All right? I mean, they did bad things. Not only did she do bad things against President Trump, but she did really bad things when it comes to real estate, buildings, where she claims she lived. How is it that the New York State Attorney General claims as her official residence Virginia? Well, that's what happened. Now, first off, let me see that. I love the way this looks, okay? Number one, it's the United States of America versus Letitia James, defendant. The USA, that is you, me, and 300 million people, versus this thoroughly corrupt woman. That's what I believe. And actually, I think that is what the evidence will show. I do know she is depraved. I'll get to that in a moment. All right, what are the charges? 1 count of bank fraud, 1 count of false statements. And it gets to, well, a lot of trickery she pulled when she was getting a loan for her house, and it was somehow more advantageous for her to say that she lived in Virginia when she's obviously in New York.
That is Greg Kelly, host of Greg Kelly Reports, 9 p.m. Eastern. New York Attorney General Letitia James indicted on 1 count of bank fraud, 1 count of making false statements. Eric Trump, the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, the target of Letitia James's lawsuit, spoke about it with Carl Higbie.
Eric Trump, the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, the fantastic author of Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation, that is, Eric, already a #1 bestseller. In this book, you literally talk about what's going on with Letitia James, and I'm sure you're just spiking the football in the past few hours.
Well, Carl, you've been a friend of mine for a long time. You saw the hell that I went through. They did everything they could to destroy our family. I mean, you saw me every single day in those courtrooms. They impeached my father. They went after him, mercilessly. I got 112 subpoenas, the most in the history of this country. They deplatformed us. They debanked us. They leaked our tax returns. They made up the Russia hoax. They made up the dirty dossiers. They took us off the ballot of Maine. They took us off the ballot in Colorado. They did everything they could to destroy our family. And that woman right there was at the front of it. I mean, she literally sued us over the fact that we had never missed a mortgage payment. We had paid back banks and made banks hundreds of millions of dollars. Deutsche Bank was on the stand testifying that we were one of the greatest real estate companies in the world, had made them a lot of money. They considered us platinum borrowers. They considered us the big whale, never had a default, never missed a payment, was never in any kind of breach. And she went after us to try and throw us out of New York. She wanted to take our buildings, and she lost. She got a rigged decision, and I just overturned it at the appellate court, 5-0, including the presiding judge of New York State. And so, today's, a great irony that the very same people that tried to throw us out of a state, that tried to bankrupt our family, that tried to destroy a company, falls to the very same thing that she did. It's projection. It's like the #1 playbook of the Democrats. It's projection. And so I'm really proud of the book. The book went to #1 instantly, and she was a big part of it. She was a big part of it, and it's interesting that she went after us for doing exactly what she did.
Yeah, and I got to say, that book it's staggering. Like, everybody's seen the news, everybody's seen what's what's reported. What's in that book, what you actually went through, like literally everybody, if you're watching this show, you have to read, your jaw will hit the floor with the stuff that never made it to the news cycle. It's unbelievable to me. So that said, Tish is responding, and Eric, I swear, she is calling this the weaponization of the justice system. Watch this.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. The president's actions are a grave violation of our constitutional order and have drawn sharp criticism from members of both parties.
And I couldn't help but think, if you're going to campaign on going after the president of the United States, maybe don't commit mortgage fraud.
Carl, I was hoping right after that you would roll her videos where she literally campaigned on taking down my father, saying that she was going to go into the office of Attorney General every day, sue him, and then go home. And then, there's another video, I'm going to get him. I'm going to be a real pain in his ass. He's going to know my name. I'm going to get the man. I'm going to get his family. I'm going to get everybody associated with his family. Yet the great irony that she says she's the one, he's the one weaponizing, the justice system. I mean, her entire life, every tweet that she sent, everything that she did was aimed at my father and our family and trying to destroy him. She was going back and forth to Washington, D.C. continuously to try and destroy him. Right. Almost a $600 million fine for not a single loan doc violation, for having your banks testify that you're the best borrower that they've ever had. And yet we're weaponizing government. I find it highly ironic. But you know what? We had our day in court. We won. We won 5-0. The whole thing was overturned. And, she'll have her day in court now.
But that's the other thing, Eric. I do recall that the New York State Legislature actually planned this, and they put in a $10 million slush fund, paid for by the tax dollars of the great people of New York. So in case she gets sued or any of this stuff happens or criminal charges, the taxpayers will pay her legal fees, unlike what you had to pay.
Well, one other thing, everybody forgets about Andrew Cuomo here. She went after the governor, Andrew Cuomo. Mm-hmm. She threw him out of office to then 3 weeks later run for governor of New York. Think about using your position to throw somebody out of their job only to run for the very job of the person you just threw out of that job, right? And I don't know why everybody forgets that. Now, she lasted in that race about 3 weeks before she had to resign in total disgrace because her poll numbers were atrocious. But her entire platform has been weaponizing her office.
Eric Trump, the executive VP of the Trump Organization on Newsmax. I think a lot of people forgot the whole Andrew Cuomo thing because at that point, Andrew send the COVID to the nursing homes Cuomo stock had fallen so much by then that nobody really cared. And her gubernatorial race lasted less than a month, as Eric said, so nobody really even knew it happened. That's why people have forgotten about it. All right, it's Friday, the end of the week, and day 10 of the government shutdown, with no end in sight. Yesterday on the Newsmax Daily, we heard Florida Congressman Byron Donalds use the term lamestream media. Well, the lamestream media and everybody else has really grabbed onto this Marjorie Taylor Greene story that I told you about yesterday. Greene essentially breaking from Republicans, saying we, being the Republicans, we have the White House, the House, and the Senate, and we need to get this fixed and get the government open. Checking out all the lame stream networks and the cable networks last night and this morning, all of a sudden, MTG is everywhere. Like now they like her. And if you have travel plans this weekend, several airports now seeing delays due to air traffic controllers calling out sick because of the shutdown, because they may not get paid. Rob Schmidt spoke with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
We're in this situation, Rob, because Democrats wanted to open up the border. Chuck Schumer supported it. 10, 15, 18 million people came into the country. And now that they're here, Democrats want to give them health care benefits. All the while, for American citizens inflicting this pain, you talked about air traffic control. Our controllers, I need them to go to work. I want them to go to work. The problem is they're angry at Chuck Schumer, and because our staffing is so tight, if a few of them don't show up, we have major issues in the airspace, and they're angry at him. And Chuck can resolve this with saying, Democrats, let's do a clean CR.
Yeah, it is. It's so interesting that they've made this all about health care. And at the same time as they say they're trying to lower these costs, which are explosively high because Obamacare was a terribly implemented system. But they want to try and make it cheaper while at the same time allowing it to be given out to the millions of people that have walked into this country over the last 4 years. It's like they don't understand how it works. Like if you give it away to that many more people, it's never going to get less expensive for the people that pay. I mean, this is not complicated stuff. Hakeem Jeffries, they usually they run to the mainstream media because they know they're going to get favorable coverage. He made one mistake this morning. He went over to CNBC, where maybe the only Republican that's in the mainstream media is actually on a show in the morning. And this was the moment that came out of that. Take a look.
Not allow the government to reopen until you do what we want. After an election where the American people put Democrats in power, you'd be going crazy. You'd be going crazy about using a shutdown of the government with a continuing resolution to get what you want just because you don't like what the Republicans did. It's not how it works. It's bad. It's bad precedent.
What is bad precedent is the Republican refusal to engage in bipartisan negotiations.
Can you do those negotiations while the government is reopened? I think that's the offer that's been on the table.
It's an issue that Republicans have ignored throughout this year, and it's an issue that needs to be addressed right now.
He made a great point. There was a mandate that came from the election, and all this was passed through Congress, and then they're going to shut the government down to try and flip it back. That's not, I mean, if you go down that road, talk about nothing ever getting done in Washington.
So what's interesting is you got to look at the timelines, right? So funding for the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare goes till the end of the year, and they're shutting the government down right now. Republicans have said, well, let's extend government funding to the end of November. So there's plenty of time to negotiate, Rob, and have this conversation. But they want to shut it down right now, not at the end of November and not at the end of the year. And they're doing that not because they care about Obamacare subsidies as a whole. They care about illegals who now can't get the subsidy. Right. They now can't get free health care. That's what they're mad about. And that's why they're shutting it down right now. Now, they're lying to you that they care about the American people and the subsidies that go to for people who make $130,000 to $600,000 a year. They're saying that, but it's really about the illegals. And it begs the question, again, Who are you fighting for?
Right.
Why don't you fight for the American people, your constituents? Why are you fighting for the people who came across the border under Joe Biden?
Healthcare for illegals and subsidies up to $500K, the Wall Street Journal said. And again, if at some point Democrats are going to do a clean sweep and they're going to get it all, and if Republicans, if they start passing bills and then Republicans say we're going to shut the government down until you reverse the bills that you've just passed after the clean sweep in the election, imagine all the hell that would break loose with that story.
Rob Schmidt with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who is now threatening to fire air traffic controllers who call out sick. And as crazy as the lame stream media is making that sound today, let me tell you how crazy that really is. If you're old enough to remember, President Reagan fired thousands of air traffic controllers, thousands, when they went on strike back in the early 80s. I don't remember anyone calling President Reagan a dictator. China announcing this morning that it's retaliating against U.S. port fees on its ships with new charges on American ships coming into China. Okay. And eventually, President Trump is going to meet with President Xi, hopefully work out the trade agreement. The stock market's opened slightly higher again this morning after pulling back from the all-new time highs yesterday. Gold and silver also pulled back a bit from yesterday's new record highs. Bitcoin is at 121,600 and change this morning. Today is World Mental Health Day, an extremely important day. And being Friday, a lot of people are taking a mental health day off of work. Nothing like a 3-day weekend. Clear your mind, refresh. Do not call out sick, though. Do not take a mental health day if you're an air traffic controller. It's also World Egg Day and National Cake Decorating Day. Maybe you're decorating Halloween cakes or cupcakes. Don't forget, the only thing more scary than ghosts and goblins this month is cyber criminals. That's why October is Cyber Security Awareness Month, which is why all month long our new friends at Webroot are offering Newsmax Daily listeners a huge discount on their Webroot Total Protection Package, including lightning-fast antivirus protection, identity theft protection with dark web monitoring, secure VPN, and unlimited cloud backup. This is all stuff we really need in today's digital world. Up to $1 million in fraud expense reimbursement, 24/7 U.S.-based customer service. If you read their reviews, people rave about their U.S.-based customer service and new text scam detection. Nothing more annoying than those text scams that you seem to get every single day now. 60% off is the discount. First time they've ever done that. 60% off Webroot Total Protection at webroot.com/Newsmax. Again, 60% off at webroot.com/Newsmax. That's the only place you're going to get 60% off. Do not wait. Do it now. webroot.com/Newsmax. And be sure to keep up with all of today's news and breaking developments on Newsmax and tune in at Newsmax.com. Not only all day today, but all weekend as well, with Wake Up America Weekend Edition, Saturday and Sunday Report, America Right Now, Sunday Agenda, Ambassador Nancy Brinker, Michael Savage on Sunday night with the Savage Nation, documentaries, special programs, check it all out. I'm Tony Marino. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy whatever sports you may be watching or whatever it is you love to do on the weekend. Most importantly, keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.